Hi, so I, 33, female, recently attended my cousin's wedding and everything went pretty badly, which is why I'm here in the first place. So, my cousin, let's call her Alice, used to be very close to me, but in the past couple of years, we haven't really spoken much. She and I always used to treat each other like sisters. We used to be that close because she had always wanted a sister since she only had two brothers, and I had always wanted a sister as well. But I didn't even have any siblings. Our mothers are sisters and they're very close. So we ended up pretty much growing up together. And when I got married 3 years ago, she was my maid of honor. We had promised to each other that whenever we got married, we would be each other's maids of honor. I lived up to my promise, and I expected her to do the same because I never really thought that she would abandon the relationship we had. But that's exactly what happened. And I'm not going to lie, it really hurt. About a year and a half after my wedding, she started dating this guy, let's call him Liam, and I could just tell right off the bat that he was not her type. He had never been the kind of guy that she would go for, and yet she seemed to be totally head over heels for him. He was one of your typical spoiled brats, living off of his father's money, hardly having to work because, well, the generations before him did everything that they had to. He just had a lot of money and he owned a gym, and as for his personality, there was not much to talk about. Honestly, he was about as interesting as a rock. But for whatever reason, she was totally taken with him. And I could see right from the very first time that we met him that he was not that into her. But in spite of that, he wanted to be with her. I know I might sound very judgmental, but I'm just being honest about my opinions, and I might be wrong, but this is what I think. Anyway, it took me a while to figure out why exactly he was with her if he was not totally in love with her. And then I figured it out. Her father was a very respected neurosurgeon. Her mom was a dentist, and Alice herself was doing pretty well for herself, so why wouldn't he go for her? She was a respectable woman, she was beautiful, and she had her own business, so she was perfect for the family because she came from a rich family as well, just like him. He didn't say this to us directly, but from certain conversations we had and just in general, that's what I gathered. But Alice was not hearing it. I guess that was my mistake. I tried to warn her that this was not the right guy for her, and she just flipped out at me, telling me that I didn't have the right to tell her what was good for her or not, because she was a grown woman and she could make her own decisions. After that, she's just started being very cold towards me. And even though she didn't cut me off, I could tell that things were not the same. And after she started distancing herself from me, she started hanging out more and more with Liam's friends. And I don't know why, but I just never really got a good vibe from them. But yes, anyway, she started hanging out more and more with these other people. And I could see from her social media that she was particularly close to this other girl who happened to be a regular at Liam's gym. And she was also a reasonably popular social media fashion influencer. Let's call this girl Jennifer. So Jennifer and Alice became very close and they were hanging out all the time. They were going on holiday together, the whole group of her, Alice, Liam, and a couple of his other friends. And she hardly ever spoke to me. And I made peace with it as well because I thought it was my duty to tell her what I thought about her relationship if I thought that this was not going to end well for her, because I was just looking out for her. And if she didn't care for it, if she thought that I had overstepped, then I guess it was good for us to take some time apart. And I couldn't really force my company on somebody that didn't want me in their life. I did feel bad about it, obviously, but I couldn't do anything, so I just let it go. Now, 6 months back, Liam and Alice finally announced that they were engaged. And finally, she invited me to her party and everything. And on the day of the engagement party, she took me aside to speak to me privately. Obviously, me being the fool that I am, I thought she was asking me to be her maid of honor, and I thought we were going to sort everything out, even after everything that happened. But I was wrong. She didn't want me to be her maid of honor, and in fact, she had taken me aside to apologize for breaking her promise and saying that I was just too awkward and I wouldn't fit in with the whole group because I hardly even know any of them. And she's not wrong. I've always been a very quiet, shy, and introverted kind of person, and she's one of the few people who have really been able to get me out of my shell. I don't deny the fact that I'm awkward, but the fact that she used that as a reason to not make me her maid of honor, and she even went on to say that I wouldn't fit in with her new friend group, felt really sad. I know that I wouldn't fit in with them, but I had always thought that I would at least be a bridesmaid, if not the maid of honor, at Alice's wedding, and the fact that I was not even part of the bridal party just really hurt. And I know that, as an adult, feeling excluded shouldn't have been such a big deal, but it really was, and it just sucked. It felt even worse when I finally found out that it was going to be Jennifer who was going to be the maid of honor for her. But I knew that no matter how I felt, I had to still attend the wedding. Because, like I said, our mothers are very close, and I knew that my aunt wouldn't want me to miss the wedding, and she hadn't done anything, so I didn't want to make anything awkward by missing the wedding. I was just thankful that I had my husband to comfort me throughout all of this, because losing Alice in such a permanent way was a real blow to me. But yeah, anyway, that was about 6 months ago, and a couple of weeks back I attended Alice's bachelorette party. In case you're thinking that's a very private thing, it wasn't. She had invited a bunch of her girlfriends over, including me, but only the bridesmaids and the maid of honor would be taking a little weekend trip with her. So yeah, it wasn't really a big deal. I didn't even want to go, but Alice kept asking me to because it would feel incomplete otherwise. Anyway, I decided to attend. It wasn't worth the drama to decline and then make a big thing out of it. Besides, it was just going to be a couple of hours. I figured I would be able to deal with it. I was wrong, though. Even that was way too much for me to handle because she hardly even spoke to me. She made me feel totally invisible, and by the end of it, I was left feeling much worse. I had a feeling that the only reason she had insisted I come was so that I would be able to sit in a corner and see how differently she behaved with everyone else, how she included them in the conversations, and how, because of what I had said, she was going to push me into a corner and make me feel worse. Obviously, I can't prove it, but it was definitely some sort of punishment that she wanted me to face. But anyway, it was just really bad, so after about an hour or so, I decided to leave. I said goodbye to Alice, and I went outside, but as I was walking to my car, I saw someone getting out of the car right behind mine, and I recognized that car as Jennifer's. So I figured that it must be her. But as I walked closer to my car, I noticed that the person getting out of her car was much bigger than her, and she seemed to be pretty well built. And soon enough, I was close enough to tell that it was not a woman at all. It was, in fact, Liam, who had gotten out of Jennifer's car, and then he was leaning onto the window on the passenger side, smiling at her and talking about something. I didn't hear what they were talking about because by the time I was close enough, they had sensed that I was there, and even though it was pretty dark, I saw Liam take one look at me and immediately make a run for it. He didn't even look back. It was actually pretty comical. As for Jennifer, she saw me and immediately ducked under the dashboard, as if that was going to make a difference. Anyway, even if I hadn't been suspecting anything. Those reactions made it pretty clear to me that something was going on between the two of them, and I had caught them. I was really confused and lost as to what to do, so I decided to get into my car, drive back home as quickly as possible, and tell my husband about everything that I had seen. And when I told him, he said that the right thing to do would be to inform Alice, and I agreed with that. But the only problem was that I didn't think she would believe me. In fact, I could already predict that it was going to happen. I already knew that if I told her about what I had seen, she was going to disbelieve me. And on top of that, she was going to go out of her way to make me out to be a liar and probably go public with it or something. Because I had already tried to warn her about Liam once and she did not take it too well. And that was just about what I thought of him. If I told her about what I had seen, then she was probably going to make me out to be some sort of psycho or something. So I decided to play it safe. And the very next day, I decided to contact her. And on a phone call, I told her that she might want to speak to Liam about certain things, and I told her to make sure that she mentions my name in the conversation because that might ring a bell for Liam. Obviously, she did not take me too seriously. She was laughing. She told me that I was just being paranoid and that she and Liam had a perfectly healthy relationship. He was always honest with her. If I wanted her to, then she would definitely talk to him, and I'm sure that she took the whole thing as a big joke. But at least I had my conscience clear that I had tried to help her out. I had tried to nudge her in the right direction, but then it was up to her if she wanted to trust me or not. It still did bug me, but as I did not receive any news of her cancelling her wedding or anything, I figured that she had not spoken to him at all. Or she had spoken to him and Liam had denied everything. Either way, I had done what I had to and I couldn't have done more. At least I don't think that I could have. Given the circumstances, I did my best, or at least that's what I think. Honestly speaking, though, if I had known what was going to happen later at the wedding itself, I probably would have tried a bit harder, but there was no way for me to have known that, in all fairness. So now, coming to the wedding itself, I went and things were going well enough in the beginning, but then all of a sudden, after the bridesmaids and everybody had walked down the aisle, and it was Alice's turn, that's when things went downhill. All of a sudden, Jennifer decided it was time for her to take a stand for herself. And she literally burst out into tears. So naturally, Alice decided to stop in her tracks because she was so confused. Jennifer started wailing, howling about how she couldn't do this anymore. She couldn't watch the love of her life marry somebody else, and she had to say something. She then confessed that she and Liam had been having an affair, not just for the past couple of months since I had seen them at the bachelorette party, but for almost a year. Liam was obviously shocked. He was trying to get her to stop talking, but it was too late. Jennifer was screaming at Liam's mother, telling her that it was all her fault that he couldn't marry her because she was just an influencer and they wanted somebody from their social class to be Liam's wife. And that's why they had to keep everything under wraps. And she accused Liam's parents of ruining her life and ruining his life as well, of being elitist. And while all that was going on, Alice was just standing there with her parents by her side, completely frozen. After a couple of minutes of watching the drama unfold, she decided to turn around and she walked back out along with her parents, and that was that. Obviously, it was so awkward that when that happened, most people who were sitting amongst the guests decided to leave. And that included me and my parents and my husband. I won't say that I didn't feel bad for Alice. I most certainly did. But at the same time, I also felt like if she had just taken my warning seriously, all of this could have been avoided. But yeah, anyway, that's what happened at the wedding, and my mother checked up on Alice and her mom, but she and I hadn't spoken until yesterday. She was the one who called me up yesterday, and I thought that we were going to sort things out, but once again, I was wrong. She had actually called me up to accuse me, blame me for everything that happened, because obviously she had figured out that I had known all along, but instead of being direct with her and telling her everything, I had just given her one hint that she didn't even take seriously because I had been so vague and weird about it. And seriously, I really need to understand how any of this is my fault, because I think I did my best to let her know what I had found out. But at that point, we did not have the kind of relationship that we used to in the past, and I couldn't just go up to her and tell her everything I knew without risking some serious humiliation, because I know that's exactly what was going to happen. On the phone, when I was arguing with her, and when I brought this up in my defense, she started to tell me that she couldn't believe I thought so lowly of her, that I actually believed that she would humiliate me for telling her something like this, knowing fully well that this was important for her to know. So I brought up how she had been treating me for the past couple of months, and ever since she had started to go out with Liam and become serious about him. I brought up how she had been giving me the cold shoulder, pretending as if I didn't even exist the whole time at the bachelorette party, which was clearly just a move to make me feel like an outsider so that I would realize she had moved on in her life and she didn't need me anymore. Knowing all of that, how could I go up to her and tell her what I had found out, given how she had reacted the previous time I had spoken to her about Liam? But instead of taking all of this into account, she started telling me I was being petty and childish, and that she couldn't believe that I was so immature that I would rather let her stay in a relationship and even get married to a cheater than come up to her and tell her the truth about what I knew. It was quite an exasperating and frustrating conversation, because we just kept speaking in circles. She kept blaming me for everything that happened, for not being completely honest with her, for making a fool out of her, and I tried to defend myself, but she was just not having it. In the end, I got very upset, so I just hung up on her, but I haven't been able to let go of things that she accused me of because, I don't know, I feel like she might have a point. Was I the one who was actually being petty here? Because I feel like I did my best to let her know without risking any humiliation or embarrassment. Because I don't know how she would react. Anyway, what do you guys think? AITA for not being more direct with my cousin while telling her that her fiancé might be having an affair? Update 1. Hey, so I have been giving this situation a lot of thought, and I have gone through all the comments and everything as well. Everybody's pretty divided. That's evident, but I have made up my mind I don't want anything to do with Alice beyond this point, because honestly, she's the one who never wanted to have me around in the past couple of months. She's the one who did not trust me in the beginning, and she's the one who ruined our relationship. And to be very honest, I don't think that I need to be sorry about everything that has happened, because at the end of the day, it's not my fault. I did not ask her fiancé to go out and cheat on her with her so-called best friend. I did not create this situation for her. It's their thing altogether, and I don't even understand why she's so upset with me. I tried to warn her. She can't be mad at me for that. I tried to tell her, and she's the one who decided not to take me seriously. She's the one who thought it was a big joke. So how is that my fault? I just don't even understand what she's so upset about anymore. I think she just wants to blame somebody, and since I'm the one who's easiest to blame in the situation, I'm the scapegoat. But whatever, this is between her, Liam, and Jennifer, so Alice can say whatever she wants to me. Doesn't make a difference, because I know I did my best and I couldn't have done any more. Besides, I have a life of my own. I cannot sit here and worry about how she feels and what she's going through and all of that, especially considering the fact that in the past couple of months she and I have had barely any conversations, and in fact that's been going on for quite a while. We don't even know each other anymore. So it's ridiculous for her to expect anything from me at all. I tried to do the decent thing. It didn't work. That's it. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I've spoken to my husband about it as well. He agrees with me on this, that I tried, and that's the most that I could have done in the situation that I was in, given the circumstances previously when I had tried to warn her about Liam. Thankfully, our parents don't know about this yet, and I don't want them to know about it either, because I'm pretty sure that she's going to try and get them involved and ruin their relationship as well. And I don't want that to happen, because I know that my mom is pretty close to her sister. I would feel kind of responsible for it if that ended up happening. So I'm hoping and praying that she doesn't bring it up with my aunt or anything after all this. Update 2. So what happened was exactly what I had been afraid of. Alice told her mother everything, and she obviously blamed me for all that had happened, but that doesn't mean that she's not upset with Liam and all those people. She's obviously blocking them, and she's been taking out her anger by posting against them on social media, calling them out and exposing them. I mean, that should be enough, right? Why does she have to come after me and my parents as well? But anyway, she told my aunt everything, and she said that she doesn't want her mother having any sort of contact with my mom anymore, because clearly our family cannot be trusted since I screwed her over just because I was being petty. Thankfully though, my aunt, even though Alice was being very rude and aggressive, kept her cool. She said that she was not going to do any such thing without hearing both sides of the story first. And the only reason Alice was so up in arms about all of this was because she was going through a hard time. But that doesn't mean that she needs to take it out on her own family. So my aunt and Alice ended up having a huge argument, but even then she decided to contact me, and she spoke to me and my mom, and I told her everything, and I apologized for not being more direct. But at the end of the day, after everything that had happened, I didn't think it would be in my best interest to be completely direct and honest with Alice. So I just dropped a hint, and I hoped that she would take it seriously. Anyway, the point is that my aunt has made it very clear to both Alice and us that she's not going to be cutting us off over something like this, because at the end of the day, I tried, and that means something to her. And more than anything else, she loves her sister, and my mom loves her. So they're not going to let these things get in the way of their relationship, and I think that's pretty admirable. Obviously, Alice does not share that sentiment, so she's not currently speaking to her mother. But I think she'll come around. Update 3. Hey, so it's been a month and a half since my previous update, and obviously everybody has moved on with their life, including Alice. She's not posting about Liam and Jennifer anymore, and in fact, she's been pretty inactive on social media for the past 2 weeks. And as for me, we haven't spoken since that last phone call that we had, and we had that fight and everything. She has sorted out things with her mother though, and I guess she couldn't stay mad at her for long, and over something so unreasonable too. But anyway, I thought we were done because I didn't have anything to say to her, and I assumed that she didn't have anything to say to me either. I was wrong though, because a couple of days ago she texted me and told me that she was sorry for having an outburst and blaming me for the whole thing. But at the end of the day, she really had expected better from me. She told me that she was really upset when she figured out that I had been trying to drop hints about what was really going on between Liam and Jennifer, because it meant that I had seen them or caught them or whatever, and instead of being direct with her and trying to save her from the embarrassment and humiliation of whatever she went through on her wedding day, I just kept my mouth shut about the whole thing because of our equation at that point in time. She said that she believed that regardless of how distant we had become, she thought it would have been more important for me to come to her and tell her the truth about what I knew. She said that she was not mad at me anymore, and she also said that it was wrong of her to blame the whole thing on me, because that was clearly not my fault. But at the end of the day, she was the one who ended up getting humiliated on her wedding day, and if I had just been clear-cut and direct with her, that whole thing could have been avoided. In the end, she told me that she wishes me all the best and that she hopes I can build the life I have always wanted for myself. But she doesn't think that we will ever be able to reconcile, that we will ever be able to have the kind of relationship we used to before. But in spite of that, she will respect my one attempt to tell her the truth, even though she wishes it could have been more direct. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. I didn't reply to it because it was a very weird message to receive. It didn't even make me mad or anything. I just didn't know what to say to it, so I let it go. And yeah, whatever. I wish the best for her as well, but I agree with her. I don't think that we can ever go back to what we used to have. And it's a great loss because she and I used to be very close, and she was almost my sister, the sibling that I never had. But I guess that's not what it is anymore. And it's fine. People grow apart. I have accepted that now. I can't really do anything about it now. Update 4. So it's been close to 6 months since my previous update, and a couple of weeks ago, I found out I was pregnant. Obviously, that's a huge deal. So I told my mom, and she told my aunt, and I guess my aunt told Alice, which is fair enough because I had never explicitly mentioned that I don't want the rest of the family knowing about it. So she told her daughter, and I don't really mind it because Alice actually texted me to congratulate me. And this was the first message I've received from her after the last one that I had spoken about in my previous update. She congratulated me. She was very warm, and she even asked me if she could come over sometime to see how I was doing. And she told me that she was very excited for me. This time I did reply. I thanked her for her kind words, and I was civil. And yeah, I think we're gonna meet sometime soon. It's not gonna be the same, I know that, but it's not gonna be that weird and awkward anymore. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.